Hey guys, as we're waiting for the official, I decided to make a quick video where we talk about what in my opinion are the best 10 tips for a beginner. Now I also had some bonus tip at the end, and hopefully this is not gonna be useful only for beginner but also for people that already played the beta and has a little bit of experience. I will try to make it as straightforward and as fast as possible because I know there are a lot of information out there, a lot of videos, some are like half an hour, 1 hour long, so not everybody has time to watch all that stuff and absorb all that information. So let's start right away. Tip number one, if you don't know how to proceed, you can follow the hyperlink chart. Now, the hyperlink chart is basically a list of quests divided for topic. Can be some of them are about the module, some of them are for PvP, some of them are shell. The Animus Fate is about Lian progress at first, and then it becomes more generic, and then Commission Chronicle is a little bit of everything. Now, this is amazing for new player because eventually you're gonna reach a point where you finish all the main story that you can do at your current level, and you don't know what to do most likely, especially if you're new and you never played the beta. So when you're lost, you can just follow this, and not only it tells you what to do, so you have a guide, but you also get amazing reward on top of that. I would say ideally everybody want to finish this around the first month of gameplay, so it's very good, and I would say definitely this is amazing for new people. Tip number two is don't waste crystal rolling. You can refill your stamina. Now, you probably heard about this tip everywhere. Everybody's telling you not to waste your crystal, especially if you're free to play, and to just max refill your stamina. But do you know the reason, and does it actually make sense? This is the main point, and this is why I want to talk about this early in the video. Now, the main reason why people tell you to do that is because based on your level, you unlock a new mode in the game, a new PvE mode, also arena, and both the normal one and the real-time one are based on your level. But overall, the reason why people tell you to level up as fast as possible is to unlock everything. Now, you unlock almost everything around level 50, which is when you have most of the Inferno stuff. The only one that you unlock at level 55 is Rengokutsu Inferno. Everything else is already unlocked at Inferno difficulty. Does that make sense for you to rush the level? Now, the main reason, the main argument I would say we have for rushing level is that at least you want to go up to level 35 to unlock L, and be sure that you can actually farm outstanding module consistently with Nightmare 3, so that you can actually start to access to L and farm L. But the main thing is not everybody should probably rush to level 50, in my opinion, because it only makes sense to rush to level 50 and start to farm Inferno mode, if you can actually farm Inferno mode. Or even if you cannot farm Inferno mode, which is very difficult, especially for free to play, it's not gonna happen that fast, I would say. If you can farm L4, then it would make sense to rush the level at least until around level 50. But if you cannot farm L4, which is the one where you actually drop Mythic Module with 3 Matrix, even if it's not the end game, because the end game is still gonna be in Inferno, then in that case, maybe you can actually do that. It's actually a good idea, because then you can take advantage of that and start to build your character very fast for both PvE and PvP. But especially if you're new to the game and you don't know how to make team for L4 or Inferno, I do have a video about that, but the main point is that it might not be necessary for you to rush, because even if you rush and reach that point, then you're not gonna be able to farm anyway. So it could be a little bit of a waste of gems. I would say arguably up until level 35, it's worth it for everybody. From level 35 to level 50, you can choose. If you're confident that you can farm L4 or Inferno, then absolutely go for that. And after level 50 only for whale, I would say it's worth it to, unless they add something new in the game that we didn't have in the final beta. But yeah, I would say this is my tip for everybody. If you go for level 35, that's good, that's necessary to unlock most of the stuff and be able to farm properly Threshold and Green Pursuit. From 35 to 50, it's up to you. If you are confident, you can do it, but if you want to take it, like if you're not super competitive for PvE or PvP, like you don't want to be in the top ranking, then it's probably not really that necessary, and you can save up resource for a tip that we'll see soon. Now, tip number 3, don't build too many characters, module and shell, especially at low rarity. One of the mistakes I made, and I talked about in one of my previous videos, is that I started to make a bunch of module up to plus 15, and also to invest in a bunch of shell. The problem is that your resources, especially if you're free to play, are going to be very limited, and ideally I would say do not max out anything until you reach epic rarity level, which is the yellow rarity for both module and shell. And when it comes to characters, I would say go for SSR that are DPS mostly, and then everything else, every other role, it can be filled out very well by SR character. So ideally, I would build mostly my 3 main DPS, one for Terrormaton, one for Doki Doki, and one for Aurora with SSR character, and then everything else can easily be replaced by SR. And so yeah, I would say until you reach epic rarity for both module and shell, I wouldn't spend too much money on upgrading or maxing out the shell and the module. Now, for tip number 4, focus on your DPS character for the 6-star first. One of the problem I had when I downloaded the game and I started to play for the first time, like 2 beta ago, it was that I didn't know, I was not sure which character I should 6-star first, because the resource is quite limited. It's easier because it's easier now because once you know how to play the game and you don't invest that much in many SR, also other than the SSR, you can actually have more resource to craft the red shadow print to 6-star sub character. But still, overall, I would say a lot of people will be confused about what they should 6-star first. And again, invest into your DPS, make 6-star the DPS that you use for Terromaton, Doki Doki, and Aurora. Then when your situation is good, you can move to everything else. So this is, for example, the 6-star I had during the final beta. And as you can see, there is Lian that I was using for Terromaton, Rimoka I was using for Doki Doki, Rosa was using for Aurora, and then Masaya was using for PvP. So this was 4 DPS. And then when I maxed them out and they were built decently for being a beta, of course, I decided to actually go for Lily, because Lily overall was that character that, despite not being a DPS, I could put it into literally any team in any mode of the game, and she would provide value, and she would also make the DPS do much more damage, so definitely was worth to go for 6-star for Lily. But yeah, start with your DPS first. Then we move to tips number 5, and this Lian is good, invest into her and then reset for perfect lattice. So I made a video some time ago about Lian and why people should invest into Lian, because despite being the free SSR that everybody will get, she's very, very good, not only for Terromaton, but overall, because other than damage, she also has some utility, which is stealing the turn meter, which is super important in the game, in any mode really, from PvP to PvE. Then in the comment, I actually got a very, very good comment saying that you could reset Lian just for the perfect lattice, because to complete the hyperlink charter quest, you need to max out some skill for her. And then when you finish that and you get the reward, you can actually reset, get the perfect lattice back, and then you can build her up again, so level up the character and give her back the module and everything. Just the only difference is that you will not have invested perfect lattice, which makes a lot of sense, and I think it's a very good advice that we got in that comment, because perfect lattice, again, especially for free to play, is very, very rare as a resource, and you don't want to waste it. Then we move to tip number 6, which is plan your builds and don't waste lattice. So it's related to the previous one. For SR, prioritize CC, and turn meter control. For SSR, prioritize your DPS. So this is all linked to the previous tips that I gave you pretty much. And as I mentioned before, invest the most in your DPS, because you need damage to clear and be able, like, to clear a higher difficulty threshold, and to be able to farm the best module that you can possibly farm. And also this applies for the shell, of course. And then for the SR, which the resource for the SR, for the skill, it's much easier to get compared to the perfect lattice for the SSR. Then in that case, because you're gonna have more SSR character, it means that you're gonna max out more SR skill, and that way I would say it's best to just use SR that are for CC, turn meter control, healer, for example, like Sanya. And that way it's gonna have a balance in the resource that you use, because again, ideally, especially if you are free to play, you don't want to spend a lot of perfect lattice in your SSR, and then maybe you start to build a DPS that is an SR. You could do it, and there are some ideal team that you could actually build, like something with Victor or with Dieting, but I would say this character, you're gonna need to have their skill maxed out, so I wouldn't really build them for like farming from basic difficulty up to Nightmare 3. I would start to consider them more when you start to like play Hell mode or Inferno. Then you're gonna need some nuker and also maybe a double DPS build. So up until then, I would say go for the SSR for DPS, and then everything else you can fill it with your SR character and invest into their skill, because of course it makes a huge difference. Then we have tips number 7 is use continuous battle while you play actively. Now, you might think that you can just max refill and play the game and it's gonna be nice and easy because it's a mobile game. This is a mobile game, yes, but it's a very hardcore one. And if you max refill every day, it's gonna take, especially the first few days, when you cannot do many things in auto mode yet, it's gonna take a long ass time. Like when the beta came out and I was max refilling every day, the first few days was taking me like up to 7-8 hours to finish all the stamina, and that's a long ass time. Like it's gonna take you so long to use it, to use all that stamina, and you wanna use it because otherwise you just waste your resource by maxing out and not using it because it's not gonna recharge back. And so yeah, I would say always have something playing in the background in auto mode, and then you also play in an active way, like you do your story or you farm. You can also do PvP. Of course, in that case, you don't consume stamina, but it's something that you have to do anyway, and we're gonna talk about that later. But always try to do something while you have auto mode in the background, because it's very important to spend all your stamina, and it's gonna take more time than you think. Now, tips number 8 is do PvP. PvP shop are amazing. And the reason is that I know not everybody is super competitive, so maybe not everybody is gonna spend much time doing PvP. But the thing is, the shop from the PvP arguably have the best reward in the game. So if you don't do much PvP, you don't farm much of the currency from there, and then you cannot really buy stuff that you need from those shop. And again, they're very, very good. They have prototype if you want to summon. They have item to level up your character, to reconfigure the passive of the shell, to level up the shell. And you also have the Etheria coin. Do not underestimate the Etheria coin that you can buy from the real-time arena and also from the normal AI arena, because they don't have a limit. You can just buy forever. And it's so useful to progress, to like speed up your progress, because you're gonna reach a point when you don't have enough coin and you don't have enough training data, and buying it from here can speed up your progress quite a lot. At least that was what happened to me in the beta. So definitely I think it's worth it to just keep farming, even if you're not super huge fan of PvP. And in that case, for the normal arena, you can just make a very weak team in defense. People are gonna attack you because they're gonna have easy win, so you lose your rank, and you can just keep farming people in low rank in arena and just farm, like use all your ticket every day, make the currency from PvP, and then you can buy whatever you need from the shop. Then we have tip number 9 is join an union, and they also have a very good shop. So union, for those who don't know, is basically what in other game is the guild. And again, this is the same reason as before. It's very, they have very, very good reward, and this it's like stuff that get restock. I think it's weekly, if I'm not wrong. I don't remember actually, but I believe it was weekly. And they have very, very good item, as you can see. Even if the screenshot is not that good, it's they have, for example, red shadow print is what you need for a 6-star character. They have lattice. They have material for the highest rarity skill to level up the skill. They also have the fragment for the perfect lattice, which is very good because once you have enough, you can actually craft perfect lattice. So again, it doesn't take that long to do the stuff that you need to do in the union, which is just check in, get the reward from the weekly quest, and also play the boss, like attack the boss once at least. And so we also don't know what reward we're gonna get from guild versus guild, so union versus union, because they didn't announce it yet. But most likely, the game being PvP oriented, I would assume they're gonna have very good rewards. So definitely join a union. Even if you're not like hardcore player, you can just join a casual one and you're gonna be fine. Then tip number 10 is farm Terrormaton, build your DPS, then farm Doki Doki, build everyone else, and then repeat for higher difficulty stage. And again, the idea is that you always want to focus on your DPS first, because they're gonna allow you to go for the highest possible difficulty that you can clear. Once you can clear the highest possible difficulty in Terrormaton, farm that one. And once you get all the module that you need for at least your DPS, because Terrormaton is gonna drop mostly module for your DPS, you can then move on to Doki Doki, farm Doki Doki to the highest possible difficulty, get all the module for every other character that is not a DPS. Because overall, Doki Doki is for speed, and most of the character, there are some exceptions that use HP or defense, but most of the character that are not DPS, they go for speed build. And so you do that, you finish also the build of everybody else in your team, and then when your team is all geared up with the most recent gear, you can just keep farming Terrormaton again and repeat the cycle. And that way, you're gonna reach up until Inferno, you're gonna reach the highest difficulty possible, and you can farm then the best module of the end game. And that's it, really, for when it comes to farming. That was very useful. Then, of course, you also have Aurora for Threshold, but Aurora is more for endgame gear. It's not something that you need that much for PvE, so that's a separate case. Mostly for PvE and progression early game, you're just gonna farm Terrormaton and Doki Doki. Now, for the bonus tip, if you are free to play, you can consider keeping the refill item for the double drop event that most likely we're gonna have on week 2. I say most likely because this is what we had in the final beta. On week 2, we had a double drop item. Every day basically was double drop of one specific mod. One day was for the material that you used to level up the character. One day was for the module. One day was for the material that you used to level up the skill of the characters. And this is obviously very good for free-to-player to close the gap to people that spend money. And again, this is also related, as I mentioned before, to the tip about maybe you don't want to spend all your max refill up until level 50. And for max refill, you can do max refill with 2 things. One is with the crystal and one is with the mental stabilizer. The mental stabilizer you're going to get from a bunch of quests and also from daily quests. So you're going to accumulate them with time. What could be an idea for free-to-play, depends on you, you can decide, is that you can max refill with your crystal in the first few days until you reach level 35 or 50, depending on what you decided, and then you save up the mental stabilizer, and when the double drop event is online, you can just use the mental stabilizer to farm whatever you need. So maybe you need to level up all your characters to level 50. It's then you can do it on the day when they have double drop for that material. Where if you maybe want to farm module, you can just do it for the module. So whatever you need when you want, you can do it and use them during the double drop event. Of course, this is not mandatory. I would say this is why I put it as a bonus tip. You can choose how you want to spend your stamina. Of course, there is not a best way. Depends on you and depend on your playstyle and how much time you have. So many factors. So you have to think about that and go for what is best for you. But definitely keep that in mind because there's gonna be a double drop event. And then for the last bonus tip is save up your target roll and also the rate up banner until you know your situation. I will make a selector video hopefully soon. I'm just waiting for the balance patch because I know a lot of people are making video already, but I mean, what if some character get nerfed or get buffed? The situation is gonna change, so I don't want to waste time, both for me and for you. So I'm waiting for the balance patch. But ideally, everybody, I think, probably some YouTuber, maybe like Volkin or other free-to-play YouTuber, made like the math. They know how many roll we're gonna have on day 1, day 2. I would guess 100, 150 is something possible for everybody on the first few days. And ideally, you want to do that 100, 150 roll, see what you find, and then start to think about the rate up banner and the target roll. What do I mean by that is that, for example, if you do 100 or 150 roll and you find Freya, of course you don't need to go for the rate up banner because in this game, especially for characters that are not DPS, you don't really care about dupes. It's not that important, even if now we know that they're available for PvP. I wouldn't say it's that much of a big deal. Again, especially if it's not a DPS. And so if you find Freya in the banner, like in the normal, in the standard banner, you don't want to go for the rate up. And again, for target roll, maybe you want Real Mocha and then you roll, you do 100 roll and you find Real Mocha in the permanent banner, then you can use the selector for something else. And so yeah, it's ideally you want to save them up. At least don't use them immediately on day 1, the selector, and don't roll for the rate up on day 1 immediately. Do some roll on the permanent banner, then you see what you find, what is your situation, and then from there you decide what is worth it and what is not. And that's it for the video. If you learned something new, consider subscribing because I'm trying to reach 1000 subs before the official launch. And hope to see you in the next one. Have a good day. Bye bye.